Hello, Owls. My name's Chrissy Cross. I'm here to help talk you through how to do a travel mini grant from the Office of Research and Graduate Studies. I have gotten a lot of these travel grants because I need them to travel to present my research. And so I'm just going to talk you through kind of how I go about doing it. You can, of course, do it your own way, but it's important to kind of outline just the process in case you have never done it. Okay, so first of all, before the semester starts, I usually sit down and make a document of all of the conferences that I have applied to or I'm planning to apply to, and how much money the department has given me and how much money I'm going to need. I like to have everything budgeted out before the semester or year begins, just to make sure that I know which conferences I'm going to be able to attend and which ones I'm not, just because we don't have unlimited funding, right? So if you are wanting to apply for a travel grant through ORGS, you have to make sure your application is in at least 3 weeks before. I personally would encourage you to get it in a couple months before, just because sometimes if you forget to include something in the application, you can just be like, oh, I forgot to include this, or the University Research Council, also known as the URC, will be like, hey, we had this travel grant from you, but you forgot to include your acceptance email. Please include that and we'll happily fund you. So if you get it in far enough in advance, there's plenty of time for you to adjust and also answer any questions they might have. So I actually am on the URC this year. So when we get a bunch of these in, we just review them, make sure they have all the documents necessary, and make sure people are presenting legitimate things at legitimate conferences, and most of them get funded because most of the faculty at SFA do a great job of this. Okay, so when I'm starting to fill out the forms and look at guidelines, I just type into Google SFASU and then ORGS, and that sends me into the ORGS website, which looks kind of like this. And to find the forms, you have to go over here to About and hit Forms and Documents. So it's on the About page in ORGS. If you scroll down, you'll see all kinds of stuff for graduate studies, and then you'll see a line right here called Internal Funding. That's where we go, Internal Funding. Internal funding includes all of these different grant options, guidelines, and paperwork for those grants. The travel grant is considered a mini grant. We're going to look at the guidelines for the mini grant. And we're doing travel, so we're going to go right here. So there's 3 different types of travel you can do. You can travel to present research at a conference, which a lot of us do. You can travel to do an exhibition or perform if you're in fine arts. Those are kind of the same thing. Then you can travel to collect data for some research you're doing, or you can travel to meet with like a program officer for a federal grant. So for travel support, those are the 3 options. What you have to include with your travel support is you have to include your acceptance email from whatever organization or exhibition that you're planning to do. You have to include an abstract of what you submitted. If you don't have an abstract, then you just have to write like a small paragraph talking about what you're planning to present on, if it's an exhibition, like the whole premise behind the exhibition or performance. You also have to include a justification, which is basically a paragraph saying how this fits in to your research agenda. Always include that presenting research or doing exhibitions is key for you to get tenure and promotion at the university. The URC obviously knows that, but I think having that documented is super important. And also make sure that this project is part of your research agenda. Finally, you have to include an itemized breakdown of costs. This means like specific receipts or proof of cost from hotels, airlines, rental cars, registration for the conference, any type of public transportation you may use, and per diem. So you need to have all of that lined out before you apply. Again, this is why we should do this like 2 months in advance, because it just kind of takes a while to get all that straightened out. So that's what you have to submit with this, in addition to the application, okay? So I'm going to show y'all what the application looks like. Again, you can find this by going into Forms and Documents, and right here, I'm going to show y'all the Present Research, Exhibit, or Perform. Here is the application. So obviously this kind of stuff, you know, just regular old paperwork. Make sure you know what day you're leaving. Make sure you know what day you're coming back. Again, that works into the per diem part. That's really important to make sure that you get money for meals. You can ask for $750 max for a trip within the United States. If you're traveling internationally, you can ask for $1,500 for travel support. Now, the $750, you don't have to ask it just for one conference. For example, if you have 2 conferences you're going to, like in the spring, you may write one travel application for $400 and then another one for $350, and that would use up your total of $750. Matching, make sure that your department or college is also contributing money to your travel. Even if it's just like $100 or $200, it still counts. It's important that your department and college are giving you money to travel. If your research includes human subjects, you must include your IRB for your IRB acceptance in order to be able to get this funding to travel. If you are doing human subject research without an IRB, that's a problem. So make sure you get your IRB in, again, a couple months before you turn in your travel support. Like, you have to think through, like, what dates do you need to travel? Okay, then backdate your travel support a couple months. Backdate your IRB even more. If you're not using human subjects, no big deal. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, so here's the checklist, like we talked about. Your email, that is your acceptance, your justification, itemized breakdown, the commitments of finances, we already did that on this form, abstract, right? Okay, if multiple SFA faculty will apply for support, then provide justification. I will just tell you, they're not going to give money to multiple people to travel for the same presentation. So it's nice to apply for this strategically. So if you know somebody that's on a project with you, then make sure that both of you have applied for separate presentations, and you'll both get funded. And then on your one together, you know, you can both be there to present. If you have gotten a research and creative activities grant, you can't get travel support for the summer because it has to do with the way summer funding is allocated, and the RCA money often is for summer. So you do have to get this approved by your chair, and then you send it in to ORGS, and this says it needs to be sent in to ORGS box 13024. I don't know, it seems like we were doing them digitally last year. I'll have to check on that. But if you want to print everything out and submit it in by paper, you can. I would just email it to the administrative assistant in ORGS, who I believe, let's look it up real quick, is the same person as last year. I don't know. I don't want to assume anything. Sherry Tucker is the person that I have sent stuff to in the past. She does a great job of getting all that documentation together. Then what's going to happen is your application will go to the chair of the URC, which currently is Nick Long, and the University Research Council will evaluate your presentation, and then you'll get, hopefully, a good word from them. If you have any questions or concerns about doing a travel grant, feel free to contact me. I am happy to help.